Hello, and welcome to Transformation by Truth podcast, where the called become the chosen, and those who have been dedicated to serve the Most High receive the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as we progress our quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life. My name is D.L. Anderson. I'll be your tour guide. Let's get started with today's lesson. Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast and the quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life. Today, I'll welcome you to week 11, an invite to join the quest for holiness. We'll discuss why you should join us in the quest for holiness. 4 reasons why you should get on board this train. Today's podcast is entitled, "This is the Path That Leads to Everlasting Life." Master, to whom shall we go? You possess words of everlasting life. John 6:68. Say the objectives are: confirm we are following the path that leads to everlasting life, and prove perfection is a door, utilizing 3 key exhibits. Now, our first section is entitled, Perfection is the Door. The fundamental reason why you should join us in this quest is because we, unlike the vast majority of those in the religious circuit, are in the way of holiness. We are a subset of the faithful few who are truly following the path that leads to everlasting life. No doubt, I have proven this matter all throughout the preliminary phase of this quest. However, I would like to revisit one of the more powerful pieces of evidence in support of this truth. That is, the fact that perfection is a door that leads to everlasting life. Besides the tens of scriptures I use to prove perfection is possible, the word of truth directly confirms that perfection is a door that leads to everlasting life on multiple occasions. For the sake of time, I will only entertain 3. Now, our next section is entitled, The Return of the Rich Young Ruler. If you recall, I initially established my case on perfection with the story of the rich young ruler. In fact, the first chapter in the first volume in my Pinnacle of Holiness book series begins with an analysis of this powerful story. In that volume, I used the story of the rich young ruler to not only prove perfection is possible, but to also prove the Father's will is our perfection. From now, I have been led to use the story to prove perfection is a door that leads to everlasting life. Matthew 19:16-17 reads, "And see, one came and said to him, 'Good master, what good shall I do that I may have everlasting life?' And he said to him, 'Why do you call me good? No one is good but one, Elohim. But if you wish to enter into life, guard the commands.' And he said to him, 'Which?' And Yahushua said, 'You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. Respect your father and your mother, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself.' The young man said to him, 'All these I have watched from my youth. What do I still lack?' Yahushua said to him, 'If thou wilt be perfect, go, sell what you have and give to the poor, and you shall have treasure in heaven. And come, follow me. And when the young man heard the word, he went away sad, because he had many possessions. And Yahushua said to his taught ones, truly I say to you, that it is hard for a rich man to enter into the reign of the heavens. In this discourse, Yahushua Messiah makes a direct connection between perfection and everlasting life. Explicitly, when the rich young ruler rejected the call to perfection, Messiah immediately said, it is hard for a rich man to enter into everlasting life. Here's a question. Why did Yahushua Messiah make this statement about the difficulty involved in a rich man inheriting everlasting life? The answer is because they had just witnessed it firsthand. A young ruler with a quote unquote good heart rejected the call to perfection because of his riches. Ergo, the reason why it is hard for a rich man to enter into everlasting life is because it is hard for a rich man to achieve perfection, for the latter is required for the former. This concludes my first exhibit. Perfection is the door that leads to everlasting life. Now, our next section is entitled, The Cause of Everlasting Deliverance. The next case I want to make to prove perfection is the door to everlasting life is found in the book of Hebrews. Receive this word of truth. Hebrews 5:8-9 reads, though being a son, he learned obedience by what he suffered, and having been perfected, he became the causer of everlasting deliverance to all those obeying, i.e., following him. These verses prove that the perfection of Yahushua Messiah, our example, and the causer of our redemption is the only reason why any one of us has the potential to inherit everlasting life. That is, if we follow his example. 1 Peter 2:21-22 reads, for to this you were called, because Messiah also suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow his steps, who committed no sin, nor was deceit found in his mouth. Now, here's a question. Is it possible to follow the steps of a perfect man and simultaneously fail to achieve perfection? The answer is no. For if you follow the steps of a perfect man, you must at some point achieve perfection. And anyone who fails to do so is clearly not following him. Ergo, if it took a perfect man to open the door that leads to everlasting life, so that every man and woman can vie to enter in, then perfection must be the door that leads to everlasting life. And this concludes my second exhibit. Now, our next section is entitled, A Latter End of Peace. The final case I would like to make to prove perfection is a door to everlasting life is found in the book of Psalms. Receive this word of truth. Psalm 37:37-38 reads, watch the perfect and observe the straight, for the latter end of each is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The latter end of the wrong shall be cut off. Now, the key to understanding this verse lies in understanding the implication behind the phrase latter end. If you have a concordance, you will find that the phrase latter end is referring to the conclusion of our existence, an existence that extends far beyond this life. On this wise, we know there are only two destinations of the soul: everlasting life and endless death. Clearly, everlasting life is the only destination that ends in peace, for endless death is the equivalence of perpetual torment. Thus, we can accurately rephrase Psalm 37:37, saying, "Watch the perfect, for their latter end is everlasting life." Ergo, if the latter end of the path to perfection, which we are to watch over and keep, is everlasting peace, then perfection must be the door that leads to everlasting life. This concludes my third and final exhibit, proving this is the path that leads to everlasting life. Now, here is the final word. Now that we have reconfirmed the path that leads to life and peace, are you ready to walk in it? The preacher inside of me would love to preach a sermon on this topic, yet it is not expedient in light of the 50 podcasts I have already shared for one central purpose: to ensure those who have been called are truly focused on everlasting life and doing everything within their power to inherit this prize. Perhaps you recall the lecture entitled "Everlasting Life is Everything." Truer words can never be spoken. Yet, despite this fact, the religious circuit is more focused on earthly matters and that which pertains to this life. And they are setting themselves up to have that day come upon them unawares. This is the number one reason why I'm inviting you to join us on this quest. It's because the Spirit has convicted you of these things, and He has led you to our ministry, a Spirit-led organization that has the tools, teachings, and trainings to help you navigate the narrow and hard-pressed way that leads to everlasting life. If the Spirit is speaking to you even now, reminding you that this is the way, I implore you to listen to Him and tune in to tomorrow's podcast as we continue with the number two reason why you should join us on this quest. Now, here is the assignment for today. In your prayers, ask the Father to speak to you and to make it plain that it is His desire for you to join us on this quest, and be fervent in your prayers. This is important because you will never join us if the Father, by His Spirit, is not leading you. See, the same Spirit that is leading to you is speaking to us, and He will make it clear to us at the appointed time that you have been called for such a time as this. My dear friends, this is how the Spirit works. And if this is not something you are used to experiencing, I have three words for you: come and see. Now, here's what's next. We completed today's podcast. This is the path that leads to everlasting life. And tomorrow's podcast is entitled "The Perfect Man or Woman Inside of You." Now, if you are a member and have questions, please click the Q&A box underneath the video player. Likewise, if you have comments you want to share with the group, please share those in the comment box located beneath the Q&A box. Now, if you're not a member and you have questions about today's podcast, feel free to contact us via our website at www.holiness, contact.pinnacleofholiness.com and use the form on our contact page, and we will respond to you as soon as we can. And thank you for being with us today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Remember to tune in with us every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And if you haven't already, visit us at www.pinnacleofholiness.com and make sure you sign up to join the quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life 2022.